allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and to the republic
10 months after the Nigeria Basketball Federation (NBBF) elections in Benin, which returned Musa Kida as president, the federal government has inaugurated the federation's board. The inauguration finally put an end to the dispute over the authentic leadership of the body.
We move forward as a Ministry of Youth and Sports Development that takes seriously its mandate to superintend and support the federations to develop basketball. Therefore, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the inauguration of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, NBBF, led by engineer Musa Kida. For the record, this is the only board and leadership recognized by the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development and by extension the federal government of Nigeria.
It could be recalled that Kida was re-elected as NBBF president for another 4 years in an election witnessed by international observers, including representatives of the World Basketball ruling body FIBA. Kida's victory was, however, challenged by another group led by Igoche Mark, who claimed to have been elected as NBBF president in another election held on the same January 30 in Abuja.
Even in peace times, there's always tension. It depends on who is looking at what. Yes, there was palpable tension in the air, especially what happened last week, where there was a kind of, there was a little violence there was a little breakdown of law and order.
This led to a crisis that eventually stalled the government's recognition of any faction as the authentic governing body for the sport.
With very great humility, we acknowledge the bitter rivalry that existed leading to the elections. This has created a very unhealthy atmosphere for the development of basketball. This situation is truly not pleasant to us, and we need every critical stakeholder on board for all of us to be able to contribute either his or her own best to the growth and development of the basketball game in Nigeria.
The fallout of the impasse was the withdrawal of Nigerian teams from international competitions, leading to FIBA replacing their women's national team, the Tigers, which had already qualified for the 2022 World Cup, with Mali's women's team. However, the federal government recently announced that it has recognized Kida's board as the authentic one for the sport in Nigeria, promising to inaugurate the board in due course. Speaking while inaugurating the board at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, Sports Minister Sunday Nari described the event as significant for the growth of basketball in Nigeria and a forward leap in the mandate of the ministry in superintending and supporting federations for the development of sports.
The Ministry of Youth and Sports, you're well aware, through its core mandate, is focused on youth and sports development, the establishment of a conducive environment for sports development and support of our athletes. We will remain resolutely committed to playing that role as a Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. As a ministry, we will extend that support, that cooperation to the NBBF.
Responding on behalf of the NBBF board, Kida expressed gratitude to the minister for resolving the crisis that plagued the federation for over 5 years by recognizing the outcome of the elective Congress. Kida assured the minister that the NBBF under his watch will develop basketball from the grassroots and restore the nation's glory in international competitions.
We will ensure the development of the game of basketball from the grassroots to the national scene and regain our dominance in the African continent while we return to the global stage much better than where we were.
Our sports correspondent Osareme Yembet shares his views.
The recent announcement by the federal government led by Sports Minister Sunday David that they will be recognizing Musa Kida as the NBBF president and the inauguration of the board is a welcome one for Nigerian basketball. I feel like the story of Nigerian basketball in recent times has been very complex. You have to go back to January 30th and the election that took place in Abuja and Benin spontaneously, and with two NBBF presidents emerging, and there was difficulty knowing who to recognize. But now that the federal government has recognized one, Musa Kida, and now this will put an end to the crisis.
In the NBBF new board are Kida, that is the president, Babatunde Ogunade, vice president, Abba Kaka, Professor Yakasai, Professor Adeyonju, Adamu Deshi, Ugo Udezwe, Okoro Victor, Olumide Oyedeji. The others are Suraju Yusuf, Felix Awogo, and Colonel Sam Amedo, retired, with Njoko Peter as Secretary General.